good evening, good evening. How are you today? I am so excited to be here back on Six We Speak. I think the last time we were here was, I think 3 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while. 2 weeks ago, or there, 3 weeks ago, I think, was when we were, you know, live last. And I'm really happy to be here this evening. Yeah. And we're here with C-Suite Speak, our speed mentoring session where we get to learn from C-suite leaders, from people who have worked for decades, right? Average 20 years and above, and just hear from them their stories. We know how we can sit, and look at people and it looks like, oh, their life is all glam and glaze and there's no issue. But hey, there's a whole lot to learn, right? So that's what we want to do with C-Suite Speak, right? Help you to learn, how you from people who have gone ahead of you, right? So you can know what to do for them. You can know what you can do as well from them. So my name is Nneka Jethro Obi. I'm the happy employee coach, and what I do is teach people how to be happy at work. Essentially, I give you the tools to help you thrive as an employee, right? Showing you how to manage critical relationships, beginning with your manager, who is really the person that is at the heart of your experience at work, and then as well showing you how to manage your money. Money is so critical. Money is so critical, right? Because many people end up working for years and they look back and they say, oh, they have regrets, all of that. So hey, we want that not to be your case, right? Yeah, so that's why we do this, right? And I have resources to help you enjoy this journey of being a happy employee. I have books, I have webinars. If you are watching this on YouTube or Instagram and you're not following me yet, please do well to click the follow button. And I hear that the bonus or the exciting spot is when you join the email community, right? When you join the email community, okay. I hear that's when it's exciting because what happens is that in the email community, I kind of go deep because LinkedIn posts, Instagram posts, you don't want it to be too long if it's a reel or whatever, a video. But when it comes to emails, I can really sit down and break it down step by step. And I've been told over and over again that the email community is where it is really at. Okay, so welcome. Our guest is here. Trying to add her.
I think you have.
What is going on? Okay. I'm trying to add our guest. Uh, okay, sorry guys. What's going on? This is strange. Please on LinkedIn and oh my goodness, my network seems to be glitching. I don't know what's happening, and I really don't want to switch ISPs, but it looks like I would have to. Oh, network be great tonight. Okay. Our guest is here. Our guest is here. Awesome. My network was glitching. I was like, what was happening? What was happening? Good evening. Hooray. Hooray.
I was going
Um,
to say enemies, but then
they cannot walk here. No enemies can walk here. This whole arena is covered, completely covered. Thank you
Mhm.
so much. Your
You're
schedule
welcome.
is so busy, and I'm like, hey, have I not gone to go and bite more than I can chew like this? Hey, then I waited for Ify to be on vacation, if she ever goes on vacation, anyways.
I
Am
will
I
go on
sure
now.
that I Neka, oh, hey, okay, but I'm happy that you are here, right? Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you for
So
having me too.
let me do introductions. Well, the way this works is that you get to introduce yourself, but I want to just introduce the show itself, just to for anyone who's joining us for the first time. So, what happened is I started paying a bit of right, and
Hmm.
fast forward after watching a couple of them, it occurred to me that we don't have any stories like that being told on a regular on this side of the Atlantic, and I said, okay, since my message and my assignment is to employees, why not start bringing C-suite leaders who can tell their story? You know how you can look at someone and it looks like it's all glam and glitz and it's all glowing, but there's a story of growth there. There's
True.
groaning, there's
True.
heavy groaning, right? And I thought, okay, let's start telling these stories. Okay, let's hear from people. And so people who are watching, and what I found in the last about seven episodes we've done is that people have reached out to me to say, even as leaders themselves, that they are learning a lot, right? And I tell my team and I tell people that I thought I was doing this to help younger people. I'm the first beneficiary because I'm always scribbling away whenever we go live because there's just so much to learn, right? So the whole idea of this is like a speed mentoring platform.
Okay.
What would you have told? What telling us stories like what would you tell your younger self of years ago? Things like that. Just sharing the story, letting people understand that hey, you can also get here, you can grow, but you've got to give it time. You understand? You've got to be willing to be patient. Whatever your story has been, how you chose your career choice, all of that, what we're going to be unpacking this evening, right? And so I want to say thank you very much again. I don't take this for granted at all for you being willing to be here with us over the next, roughly 45, 50 minutes. So I want us to start with the introduction. And the way it works is you tell us about yourself, right? Whatever you want to share with us. Either you want to start from your journey, the beginning of where you are now, or the many hats you wear, whichever way
Hmm.
you want it to go, right? And then we'll just follow that journey and I'll ask you questions from there and we'll just unpack it. So over to you. Welcome. And so we are
Hey.
streaming we are streaming on LinkedIn, on YouTube and Instagram. So just so you know on those platforms, right? So
Oh, amazing.
yes.
Amazing. Well done.
Yeah.
First of all, well done, well done, Nneka. This is really amazing stuff. You know me, I'm always proud of you. So so my name is Ify. I think I'll start with the many hats first of all. From a career point of view, I'm the MD for Africa for an organization called Global Citizen. We are focused on ending extreme poverty. So I lead the work on the African continent. It's headquartered in the US. So that's me from a career point of view. From a purpose point of view, I'm very, very focused on what I believe I'm also sent to do. I'm the founding president of Uncommon Woman Movement. It's a platform of almost 30,000 career women that desire more from life. And what does more mean? There's a point you get to in your career and it feels like you're just going through the motions and you feel there's a lot more you could do. You feel that you have an assignment, you have an instruction, but a lot of times the world tells us that we should soft pedal on that. When you retire, when your children have entered university, you can pursue all those things. And the common man movement is really about saying if you have that nudge, then it means that there's a grace for it because the nudge won't be there if there wasn't a grace. So it's about giving career women permissions to actually reach out for the things that they silently dream of. And you can do it without dropping the ball at work or at home. So that's the Uncommon Woman movement. I'm also very, very passionate about leadership. I truly believe that leadership is what we may be lacking or what is needed for us to, as a continent, to go into the next phase of who we are. And what do I mean by leadership? It's not just titles and people and the offices, but really about the people and the individuals and people living each day with a mindset of I want to transform the space where I find myself. So I'm passionate about it from an organizational point of view, and it's about one raising transformational leaders that will transform businesses, but will also transform people's lives, and then those people go ahead to even do much more. So based out of that, I started something called PELF. It's called Primal Works Emerging Leaders Fellowship. We do it once a year. We started last year, had about 70 people. They go through a 6 months fellowship. where I'm teaching them. We have other leaders that come in and just talk to them every month. And it was really intense, but it was interesting that we had almost the whole class graduate. So I do it once a year. These things can really be tasking. So that's it on Primer Works. Then I'm a wife, obviously. I'm a mom. I have three children. My first is 16, my second is 14, and my last is 13. I was just having a conversation with one of them, and he was telling his sister, "You owe me. You've not yet paid me." I said, "Paid you for what? Owe you how? You didn't tell me that mommy bought vouchers in school, so they do tickets and vouchers." So I was like, "Oh, you? How is she owing you?" He's like, she borrowed voucher from me, so she's owing me. And she now goes, "Mommy, it was only 200 naira I borrowed. Now I'm owing 600 naira." I'm like, "How do you charge this?" He says 100 naira per day. So I,
Okay.
in my mind, I'm like, okay, I think I like this. And I'm like, "How many more people are owing you?" He's like, "Oh, in all, there are like six of them, including her, now seven." Like, so I'm finding an entrepreneur in my house as well. And that's quite interesting. So that's me and all the different hats that I wear. In terms of my journey, I tell people, I say I look at myself now, and when I was coming straight out of school, did I have big dreams? Yes, I had massive dreams, massive dreams. I had a book I used to call my dream book, and it was just me writing down all my dreams. In school, I was president of ISEC, and so in ISEC, I was exposed to a lot of travel opportunities, international internship opportunities. So I had
Wow.
really big dreams. Um, and I used to write it down. Then I got my first job. I started my career in Procter and Gamble. Amazing, amazing experience, and something I would forever be grateful for, because it really shaped the person that I am today and built me up. But somewhere in between, when you get married and start having children, and life just hits you in different ways, you start to live for the day, and you somehow forget your dreams. You get into that circle of trying to get promoted at work, trying to make enough money, try to contribute to your share. Is it rent? Is it school fees? Is it different things? Praying for spouse, praying for children. If it's people that have a delay, your whole attention turns into that. And a lot of these things just sit down. And I remember one day, I love music a lot, and I'm a very creative person. I just always used to say, man, like, God, is this me? But I'm not questioning it like, God, is this me? I want to do something. It's like, God, is it me? Then I just relax again. So one day in my sleep, I heard this song. You know that flavor song? Ada Ada, Putakene no Ogbo. If any, the funny thing was that I did not like Flavor. Flavor had some songs that were vulgar before then, so I didn't like him. So when I heard the song, I didn't even know it was him that sang the song. I was hearing the song in my sleep, and I woke up and I went to look for the song. And when I saw it was him, I was already pissed off. I'm like, what kind of rubbish is this? And Holy Spirit says, calm down, like literally listen to the words. And if you're Igbo, it says, it's calling you like first daughter, first daughter. Come out to the square. Like people are waiting for you. And I sat down and I'm like, God, what do you need me to do? And that really started my journey, because even in my career, my career was good, it wasn't great. It took me 7 years to get my first promotion. It felt like everything wasn't working. But in between that time when I heard that song, I think it was about 2014 or so, till now, there have been different phases where I have realized that you have to come out. And I think, when you're talking about what's that thing I would tell my younger self, or the young person, from every level to the next level, you need to move into from comfort to discomfort. I always used to say, oh, I want to be a director, but I didn't really believe I could be a director. There are also voices telling you that, all those women that are directors, that are VPs, there's something wrong with their homes. Um, they have issues in their homes, or their children, they're not there to train their children. And I can say it emphatically, it's a lie. It's a big
Hmm.
lie. Like a number of them are happy in their homes, their children are raised well, and they are doing all these things, So I always used to say I didn't want to be, I wanted to be a director, but I just did nothing about it. And then, long story short, I got promoted the first time, moved to mid level management. I was there again for under 8 years. So it was when it was the seventh year, I was like, this kind of Iru wo ni nonsense lele. Even if it's a pay, what is it? Did they say you are going to stay on one level? And you need to remember, I graduated from university as best student in my class. So it's not
Wow.
like as if my brain is not working or I'm unable to do the work. And that's when I realized that honestly, the first time I had seen it, but by the second time, I also realized that careers are spiritual. And if you follow career with the mind of let's just do our own, let's do our own, there are things that you need to realize, and I've understood it now. There are levels you get in your career. You are a beacon, you are a light, you are a platform for impact, you are a
Yes.
platform to do work.
Yes.
The enemy is not going to
Yes.
sit down and just let you get there. He's going to leave you in a smaller jurisdiction so that your everything is just there. Meanwhile, you could be in higher. So one of the things that beyond it being spiritual, something things can be spiritual, which is what we do in Africa. Sometimes we over spiritualize everything. Yeah, so I realized, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. You're
Okay,
back.
yeah,
Hmm. I can hear you now.
I'm back. Saying no ritual action, but yes, I can hear you too. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I was saying that
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
have to take action. And what did that mean for me? It literally meant 6 months I was on LinkedIn, not posting, not commenting. I was following all the career coaches, everything they talked about your LinkedIn profile, the things I know, you will laugh. Your LinkedIn profile, your resume, all of a sudden, because people used to talk about how recruiters reach out to them, and I'm like, nobody reaches out. So I updated my LinkedIn profile, I updated my optimized my resume, understood those different things about keywords. But before then, one of the people that I follow, and I still follow him till date, he had asked me a question because I reached out and I said, see, this is where I find myself. I want to break into the next level. And it's so difficult. At a point, I actually feel there aren't marketing director roles. And he says, don't worry, they are. You just aren't seeing it. The question is, what do you want? You need to be clear on the role you want, the kind of organization you want, the scope of what you'll be covering. Is it going to be working from home? Is it hybrid? Is it 5 kilometers from your house? Like, you literally need to be that detailed. And in my mind, I'm like, this Oyinbo man doesn't understand how we live in Nigeria. What's he asking me? Any work they give me, I shall know that I don't want to work on the island. But I did all that. And that really was what started the process, because you're to move to the next level, your mind needs to be opened up to that. If your mind is not opened up to that, the opportunities will come, but you may not see it.
Hmm.
Um, and then that was really how I got my first C-suite role. I was looking for a marketing director role. I ended up getting a chief commercial officer role. I remember
Hmm.
when I asked, I said, at that point, I was leading, my direct reports were two, and I was the most senior person in the marketing team. We were about five or six. And then my first role, my C-suite role, was you have a team of almost over 100, almost 120, 130 people. It was crazy. But your mind is open to it, so it was able to come. So in terms of my journey, I did Procter and Gamble. I did it for about 12 years, different roles. Then I moved to Cadbury, which is where I was having this whole process of, come, is now 8 years, what's your plan? And then my first C-suite role was in CAP PLC, makers of Dulux paints. Also another place that I always call a gift from God, because it was really a beautiful experience, one that stretched me, but one that also showed me the truth in a lot of things that I believed. So I did that for about 4 years. And then my current role, where I'm MD in Global Citizen, which also came from a God, what's next? If you're not ready for the next will not come to you. You
Hmm.
know, I think that's the biggest thing I've really learned in this journey. For some people, I don't know, people say, oh, I look at the way God works with me in terms of my movements and my promotions, you know. I don't know if I see any patterns per se in mine, but with mine, I know that I've always had to desire it. If you don't desire it, it it will pass, you know. So until you desire it, then you have the next move. So that's pretty much my story in a very big nutshell.
Wow. Wow, where do we even start from? There's a lot that you've shared, and I was writing as you were speaking because, to be honest, there's a whole lot to unpack from what you've shared. I'm just asking myself, where do we start from? One of the last things you said was that if you are not ready for the next, if you're not expecting it, it will not come, right? And it's just interesting to know that really sometimes you can really you can just go into a role, like, or just live life from that. Okay, wake up in the morning, we go
Mm,
out, we come back, and the way you described it is you start to live just for the day,
yeah.
just for the day. I don't even know which one to start from, to be honest. But let me start with your role as someone in marketing, right? Your
Okay.
role at P&G. So let's go back to the beginning. Was it something you chose? How did you come into marketing? Is this something that you always wanted to do? Was marketing something that chose you? Was it that you wrote the test? How did you get here? And the reason I'm asking this is so that people can know that sometimes, hey, the way you start can be very different for everybody. What's
True.
important is what you do with it, right? So let's help us walk through that. How did we
Hmm.
get into marketing?
That's a very interesting question. I think someone asked me that recently and it was so funny. So I wrote the P&G test. I studied economics. Actually, all my life, I wanted to study medicine. I was very sick
Well,
as a
many.
child. Yeah, I was very sick as a
Oh,
child. And then my mom used to take me, shot my whole of primary four, I was in hospitals. Like, I would be in hospital on admission, come back home, stay 1 week, go back to hospital 2 weeks, come back home. Literally, my brothers were staying with family friends. It was that bad, and nobody knew what was wrong with me until we went to a particular hospital, and the guy found out what was wrong with me. So I wanted to be a doctor, and I used to say, even as a child, I said I want to be the last bus stop that when someone comes to and they have a problem, I want to be that last bus stop. The way that man was the last bus stop for us. Long story short, I did not study medicine. My dear, I think I saw an accident victim and blood, and I ran. And my mom was so. My mom was like, "No," because I could do it. My mom was like, "You can't do it." This, da, da, da. I'm like, "Ah, no, 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 no." Anyway, I ran and I ran so much. I left sciences and I went straight to economics. So I studied economics. And why did I study economics? Because I used to hear then that when you want to get into the UN, economics is a great course to get into the UN. And this is all from the fact to help people. I don't even know where I heard it. One of my mom's friends' husbands were working in the World Bank or something like that. So that's how I studied economics. When I did the P&G test, I finished. The way the form was when you finish and when you passed, they give you this form, and then it had different departments, and they just ask you to tick. Now thinking about it in hindsight, I really don't understand why they did that, but they ask you to tick. And so under marketing in P&G is called brand management. And then there was sales, and sales was called customer business development. Um, then there were the others. The others really didn't interest me. Remember, I was in ISEC. I was president. Before that, I was VP for finance. I wanted to build things. I wanted to do things. So the two that caught my attention was brand management and then customer business development. So I asked somebody, I said, please, what's the difference between these two? And he says, oh, marketing, they're like brand management, they're like in charge of the brand. They think about the whole strategies and what will be done. Customer business development, they work with our customers. I'm like, no, I don't want that. I want this one that does all the strategies and builds all the things. This is what I want. And so that's how I ticked it. And I started out in marketing. And that's why I'm very, very grateful I started in P&G, because it's really like a training ground. You come in, it doesn't matter what you read. My boss at that point was a lady called he's another person that is instrumental to the person I've also become today. and she studied engineering, chemical engineering, by the way. So we had all kinds of people. So that's how I started out in marketing, and I loved it from day one because
Mm.
I love to I love to build things. I love to think out, see a problem and say, this is how we're going to go through it. You know, I like to think through how we're going to do this, how we're going to do this, how do we get people to support, how do we get people to be on the same boat. So that's how my journey to marketing started. I ended up doing sales at the end of the day, even though I ran away from it in the beginning, because when I was getting married, I was in Lagos, my husband was in Abuja. The only way to do that was to move, which by the way, the company didn't used to do then. So I was the first woman that they actually transferred. So they moved me to sales, and everyone thought I was going to fail. I used to be really, and I tell people I am so introverted. People don't believe it. But then I was even worse, you know. And I remember when I was moving to the field, everyone was like, "Ah, this small girl, this girl has just left P&G. She's not going to be able to do this." But I did it, and I remember in the first year, by the time they were closing out the year, my section was the fastest growing in the north. They used to be like, "What is Ify doing?" I tell people, sales is not something that comes first nature to me, but I leaned on something that comes first nature to me, which is strategy and thinking out things. And I mapped out the whole strategy, which salespeople rarely do, because salespeople are very, oh, let's do this. They can't wait to, they don't want to sit first. They want to just go to the thing.
Mm.
Sit, I would map out the strategy and I will share it with my salespeople. I'm like, guys, if we only did this, trust me, we would crush this. And that's what we were doing. But I'm also grateful that I ended up doing sales. I did it for 4 years. And in that time, it was really exciting, you know. So that's really how I got into marketing and all the different parts. Like to your question, so I did marketing, I did sales. After I did sales, I came back to Lagos. I did media. At a point, I actually sat down and was like, "Ah, why does it look as if my career is very confused?" I started as in marketing. I'm doing brands. Then I go to sales. Then I come back. Then I'm doing media. Me myself, I didn't even know what I wanted to continue with. I just done different things. And at a point it honestly was confusing me. Like, what do you want to be? Like, and that's another reason a lot of people in their careers end up just living for the day because you feel like all these different things. I don't even know what I want to do. I don't even know where I want to go to. People would ask me then, do you want to follow a path in marketing? Do you want to follow a path in sales? I don't I know I don't want to be I didn't want to be a sales director, but did I want to be a marketing director? How would I do it? Different things until one day, and this is the thing I always tell people, sit down, all those craziness, all those different things, trust me, there's a pattern. There's something that is,
Mm.
and I told you how I was on LinkedIn for those 6 months and I was learning. And just by that process, I realized that at that time, in all modesty, I was the only marketing professional in Nigeria that had deep experience in marketing and sales and media.
Mm.
No other person had it. And it's still true till tomorrow because you see marketing people, they don't have deep experience in sales. You have sales people with
Mm.
deep experience in marketing. They
Mm.
might have 1 2 year assignment, 1 6 months thing they did, one CIM qualification, one work in the field. But I had marketing and I had sales, like years in it. I had assignments in it. And I changed my statement on LinkedIn and I used to, even on my resume, I said she's one of the very few professionals on Nigeria that has this rare mix of marketing, sales, and media experience. If you don't distinguish yourself, nobody's going to distinguish you. But it took sitting down to say, what is my superpower? It's something there. It can feel very scattered. And so now by the time I put all that together, by the time I was taking on the CAP role, I remember my conversations. They were like, they had been looking for someone that had marketing and sales, but they hadn't found for over a year. In my mind, I'm like, because it's not very easy. There are not very many plenty of us, you know. But that whole
That
breadth
was the
of
edge.
that was the edge. The depth of it is what made it easy for me to really, by God's grace, ace that role. So some
Hi.
people feel like I have different things, I've worked here or I've worked in several industries, is not adding up. trust me, take out time, just sit down and ask God, what is this thing that you're shaping up in me that I'm unable to see now? All you need to do is see it. Because when you see it, then your mouth can say it. Then people can like, oh, really? I missed that. Oh, did she really mean that? And that's how it starts to come to life. But if you don't see it and you don't say it, and you're waiting for the world to see it, the world never sees those kind of things. They only see the bad stuff. So you need to also see it, shape it, and say it.
Wow. Literally, sis, and I'm not even hyping you. You know, I will not say, I've literally written almost a full page of A4. And I'm not even joking. I'm not even, I wish I could,
Thank God.
I'm typing on my laptop. Gosh, there's just so much to unpack here. Sometime last week, I put up a post. I said that Joseph JD changed overnight
Mm,
from son to slave, from
mm,
sitting at his father's feet to sitting on the
beloved.
floor.
Mm,
And so, what you shared just brought that to mind because sometimes, roles change. The company says, go and do this assignment. Calm down. Stop using that energy to fight. Calm down and learn. Calm down and learn. Just look at the journey that you went through. I want to do marketing. Because of marriage, I now had to go and do sales. I'm not so happy about it, but hey, there was
let's do it.
something about you. You see, gosh, if people can learn the fact that when an opportunity comes, it may not be ideal to your
Sure.
size, to what you want, but give it your best shot. First, do it excellently.
Yeah. Yeah.
First,
I
put
agree.
everything into it
Everything.
completely. Don't
Everything.
don't spend energy complaining. Don't You just don't know what is going to come together later on.
And I
Because
think even as a child of God, like
hmm,
if we understood, and I'm going to tell you two things. There was a road that was so tough for me, and I really wanted to leave. And I would pray, and I just knew, you know how you don't have that release to go. And one day I'm like, but God, why are you leaving me here now? Like they are suffering me, they are popoing my life, I'm crying every time. And you know what he told? No, no. I now said, is it that I can't remember what I said. And then he used this same Joseph story, and he said the same gift that Joseph had in the prison is the same gift that Joseph has had in the palace and displayed in the palace. The only difference is the audience. And he now told me, he says, your gift or what you know how to do is still relevant because I was beginning to question myself. Is it that I wasn't good? Is it that something was wrong? And he said, no, all you need is a change of audience. And when it is time, I will change that audience for you. And honestly, it did. And that's why sometimes you go through roles that, I mean, see, for anybody that is not fit, I'm so sorry. But it talks about how one of my scriptures, my earliest scriptures, is you will walk through the waters, it will not drown you. You will walk through the fire, it will not burn you. You will go through some roles, even you'll be like, God, who sent me? Why are you doing this to me? At the end of the day, it is really shaping you up. If I hadn't gone through some of those roles, there are situations I would have met as a leader that I wouldn't know how to handle. Because there is one thing when they teach you that this is how to handle a situation. There's another thing when you go through that situation and you come out of it with a sense of this is what I would have expected my leader to do. Nobody tells you those things. But because I had gone through that, I had seen what I felt my leaders should have done and they didn't do. By the time I was faced with those situations as a leader, it's like a no-brainer, like this is the way to go. And then people are asking you, if how come you do things and your team just loves you? I don't do things for my team to love me. I do things that I wish my managers had done when I went through that. And at the end of the day, it lightens the load for them, and so they are grateful to you. So those situations, don't complain. Don't complain. I remember when there was one role I got, I'm like, God, this money no complete. So I'm such an able girl. Ah, God, this money is
oh my goodness.
ah, God, this money is not complete. So this is not what I was looking for. And I remember, they were following up with me, come and sign the what's that thing? That thing where they give that letter, appointment letter, and I was just And that day on the way to church, he was like, it's no, it's not Joseph, it's Isaac. He said Isaac was trying to get to Egypt because he was trying to get to the Nile because there was famine, and then obviously there's only water at the Nile. And he told him to stop at Gera. And he said, I know you're trying to get to a particular role. I am telling you to stop here. And when you stop here, like Isaac, sow everything. Ah, I was like, eh. And I did sow everything, like Neka. The things that came that would have derailed me, upset me, things that I was promised, I entered the road, they didn't give it to me. And I just, in my mind, I'm like, you know what? God sent me here. He says I should come here and I should sow everything. And I sowed everything. And it ended up being a springboard. It ended up being a platform where I also got results, you know? So there's nothing that is wasted if you understand if
Hmm.
it's where you are a child of God. Whether you're a
Hmm.
child of God or not, the truth is that there's nothing that is wasted. It's just as a child of God, you're able to see through it and persevere and push, you know?
Hmm. Hmm. Wow. As in the questions I want to ask are plenty. They are piling, and I'm just looking at them. I'm saying, which one should you ask? Which one should you not ask? Let me talk about how did you come to the place where you thought, so when you change roles into sales, and people were like, will she survive, and you also doubted yourself, right? How did you come to that place, or what was the journey of saying, of finding, I have something that can work for me in this role? Let me bring
Okay.
it to here. I want to talk about that because I think like that many of us are kind of blind to our areas of strength,
Yeah.
and generally the human mind amplifies the negative. Top that with, oh, feedback always amplifies the negative as well. You are more aware of that. You want to fix that, but you, instead of fixating on what I can't do, you're able to switch. So walk us through that journey. How did that happen for you?
Okay. I think one of the earliest things that have always motivated me is people always underestimate me. People have always underestimated me, which I think is fine. From when I was in school. So I remember when I became ISEC president, I was the first female ISEC president in my school since they started ISEC like 16 years before that. I remember when I went to introduce myself to the dean and I said I'm the new ISEC president. He looked at me like like you. I was small, I was tiny. Um and and I just made up my mind like I'm going to surprise these people. I'm going to do stuff that's going to surprise these people. Nick, are you there? You're frozen. Let's see. Let's see. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, so I just made up my mind that I was going to do what was going to like really shock them. So I've always been one that I don't know, I just always seek out to where people underestimate me, it's a case of I want to prove a point, you know. Okay, I think Neka has moved. So I'll just continue when she joins. And I've always sought to do that. Now it's a lot different. I move based on purpose. So in moving to sales, what really first of all, I was like, I can't fail at this, you know. I know everyone expects me to fail. Even me, I'm not even sure, but I can't fail at this. And there's something, and I even thought about it recently to a group of people. It's called the 5 E's of leader, or something I learned in P&G very early. And what does the 5 E's framework? It starts with envisioning, engaging, um, energizing. Can you? Yes, I can hear. I can see you now. Can you hear us?
Sorry, I lost network, but I
I
think I'm back. Oh,
yes. So
goodness
I
gracious.
continued. Can you hear us? Okay.
Guys,
So
am I back now? Can we still hear Ify?
we can. I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
You can hear me now. I'm so
Yes.
sorry. I
No, no
have
problem.
two alternatives here.
It's same thing
Please,
here.
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So I continued. So I was saying that so one of the things that I worked with was something that's called the 5 E's of leadership, and it was something that P&G had taught us when we just started out. Because with P&G they were trying to build leaders. So the 5 E's are envision, engage, enable, energize, and then execute. And the first part is really the envision part, which is what a lot of people don't do. And I think it's actually a disservice to junior and junior level people, because every time they talk 5 E's, people go to the 3 E's and talk just execute and da da da. With P&G, it starts with envision. So I sat down and I asked myself, what did I want out of this role? And because, like I was sharing in NECA, that my background has always been one that people um, what's that word, underestimated me. So I started out in my career always trying to prove a point. So I asked myself, what did I want out of that role? And I said I wanted. So it was mad. The guy's business was 140 million naira then, and I wanted to grow his business to 300 million. That was my objective. And I shared it with him. So when you are mad, you now complete the madness by actually sharing it with the people involved so that you are accountable. So, but by doing that, when you do that envision part, it says, what do you want? How are you going to get there? So, in that, how you are going to get there, the how I knew was from my background in marketing. So, the how I broke it down into, there's this thing is teach us in marketing, what are your key business drivers? So I started out trying to understand, in this new role, in this new assignment, what are my key business drivers? And it was very simple. It was coverage, distribution, pricing, shelving, and merchandising or visibility. And for each of them, I started doing, I'm very good with maths, I started doing literally um put in the numbers. If I grow coverage by this percent, how will it impact my full numbers? If I grow distribution by this percent, how will it impact my numbers? If I do this, how will it impact my numbers? And I created something that shared with me or showed me like, oh, if you did this, your numbers will grow from this to that. And that's what I took and pretty much presented to the team. So to your question, I think when you start with envisioning and where you want to go to, it forces you to look at what are the things that are your, I don't know, your key strengths or the foundations of the business, which is essentially what I did, and I was able to um, to handle that role. Okay, now we would wait for Neka to join. Apologies, people. You know that Nigerian network, our network here can sometimes be a joy. Okay. Bele, welcome.
I'm so sorry. I don't know if you can hear me, sis.
I can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you.
I can't hear you well, and
Can you
that's a
hear
bit
me
of a
well now?
challenge.
I can hear you well. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, if I
I
try
can
to
hear
switch ISPs, I have three. The one we were on before just decided that it doesn't want to work again. And then the
you.
other two are not responding well. So I know you are talking, but I can't pick up what you're saying very clearly.
I
Can you
can
hear
hear you
me?
clearly. Oh no, our network has gone off again. Okay. Let's see. If we have people that are watching and you have any question, I think now might actually be a good time to share. Yeah. Neka, can you hear?
Can you hear me? I'm
Very
really
well.
sorry. If you can hear me, please just
Exactly. We can hear you.
I'm going to try and you
Neka,
can
we
hear
can hear
me.
you. We can hear you. Just ask the next one
You
and
can
they
hear
can
me. Okay,
hear
so
us.
can you
Yes.
can you can you go on answering the question I asked?
We are
Just
finished
carry on
answering it. We are finished
around since you can
answering
hear
it.
me. You finished answering that one. Okay, I'm sorry I didn't catch what you said because people have always underestimated you. But I have some questions to ask, right? And since you can hear me clearly, I'm just going to ask the questions and we'll just try to make the best of the time. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know why this decided to happen. But you talked about something that is very important about birthing more, right? And I want to go back there. I want to go back there. Can you talk to us about, so you said talking to us about it where you woke up and you heard the song, in 2014, come out, people are waiting for you.
Mm.
Say to anyone listening who feels like
Okay, I think she's asking maybe to anyone listening who feels like maybe I'm in one spot and how do we move from here, or we're in a circle, like you're just in a place where you feel like there isn't, you don't see much. What can you do? There's something that the journey to more, it actually is different with different
you talk
people
to us
because
about
Mhm.
identifying that itch, right? Knowing it for what it is, into it, like sitting into it, right? I want you to talk to us about that because as career people, sometimes we may struggle with that. So please talk to us about that.
Okay, okay. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Just carry on. Like it's breaking something here, but just carry on. I'll pick up what you're saying
Okay,
and then we'll take it from there.
okay, okay. If I got you correctly, you were talking about just speaking to career people that are having that itch. How do you identify it, right? And how do you move on from there? Okay, so how would I explain this? I think the moment you, a lot of times, the itch is not difficult to identify because when you find yourself in a situation where every day you're asking, okay, not every day, but you frequently find yourself asking yourself, is this all there is to life? You're beginning to question things, like you feel that there is more that you could do, you feel that there is more to life. Then I always say that number one, there's more for you. Now, the question is, how do you identify that more? I will just quickly go through a process that we have. There's a program we have called Emerge, and it's a 31-day program that takes people through identifying their more. But I'll just share the short framework. We call it the 4 P's framework. And that 4 P's is made up of your passion, your proficiency, your passion, your personal experiences, and then your pipe dream. Usually when you have this itch, or rather I shouldn't say itch, when you have this itch, it's God calling you to a higher level, it's God calling you to new places or to new things. So I always say go back to your proficiency. What are the things that you know how to do? And by the way, this 4 P's was out of how God worked with me. So what are those things you know how to do that you do so well that people come to you for help on? Most times when you ask people what is that thing you know how to do and you do so well, people really, the things they know how to do and do so well, most times they take it for granted. So it doesn't always come up top of mind. So that's why I like to add, what is that thing that you know how to do that you do so well that people come to you for help on? That is like your proficiency. The second one, the second P is your passion. What is that thing that you love to do, that even if they wake you up in the middle of the night to do it, you will get up and do it? And I like to add that because I love sleep. So anything that will make me get up to do something middle of the night, I must really love it. And I think there are a lot of people like me. So that's the second one, your passion. The third one is your personal experiences. What are those things that you have gone through in life, you have overcome, that other people are still struggling with? So, what are the things that you've gone through in life and you've overcome, and other people are still struggling with it? And then the fourth P is your pipe dream. Your pipe dream is, the question to ask there is, assuming time, money, and fear were not an issue, what would you be doing? Now, when you answer all these questions, I want you to look through your responses across the 4 columns or the 4 buckets. There usually would be a pattern. There usually will be one or two that are occurring in about, I sometimes everywhere, but most times usually about 3 places. And whatever that thing is, please don't take it for granted. Take it out and then now look at it. usually that more that you're called to birth is in that space. So that's one quick way of identifying that more. And then I usually say that as a career person, because for some people, yes, God might ask you to leave your job to move into that. Um, but for the people that have this itch, not everybody will be asked to leave. So I always say that when you identify that more, you need to leverage technology to make it easy for you to be able to scale it. You know, um, you have to leverage technology to scale it. So I give you an example. Let me give you my first example. We talked about the 4 Ps. So when he asked me, what do you know how to do that people come to you for help? The place that people used to come to me for help, I had my children in the US, and people used to come and ask me, how did you do it? How did you do it? And I remember I was a junior employee, so going to the US every day before, like, and it's not as if you and your husband are $10 children. So how did you do this? So people used to come to me for that. So I wrote it down as my P. My passion, I honestly love sharing. I love helping people. I love learning. I think me and Google, like maybe if I had known, I should have bought shares in Google, because I can Google for Africa. Like I love searching out things. My husband tells me if he's searching out something and everybody searches it, by the time I go in there, I'll search it and I'll find it. So I love searching out information, which is relevant to why I was able to get the best cost when I had my children in the US. Then my personal experience, I had gone through that process where I saw someone that was having a baby in the hospital in Abuja, a very big, renowned hospital in Abuja. And it was my first pregnancy, and the lady was in labor and nobody was talking to her. And I was traumatized. And this is me, I was 30 something weeks pregnant, and I'm seeing another pregnant woman on a stretcher. Nobody's talking to her. And so I went to the US to have my baby, and it was an amazing experience. I remember when they asked me, "Are you ready to push?" I said, "Yeah," but the problem is that I just don't know how to push. Because remember, I was doing that role as a salesperson. I never used to go for my antenatals. I just used to go and do my tests. I don't know. I just used to go and do my tests. They'll check that I'm fine. But that whole classes of this how to push, this how to, I didn't do it. So the experience was night and day. So I had that personal experience, and I really wanted to help people. So that's how I started my first more, which was helping people have their babies in the US. And I remember then when I started, it was nobody was doing it. Nobody anywhere was doing it. And those people were like, you can do this. And so that's how that process started. Every other more that I have bettered is tied to it. If it has to do with women and uncommon woman, or is it leadership, it's still the same process that it always takes me through. What is my when I finished the CAP role, and in 4 years we literally quadrupled the business, was asking me, what is that thing you know how to do well? I know how to lead. In all modesty, I know how to lead. I know how to make people show up in a way that even they did not expect they were going to show up that way. I know how to galvanize people to bring great results. I know how to sit down and take a problem and tear it and say, this is what I think we should do, and get the support for it. And that's really transformational leadership. Okay, if is it something that if they woke you up in the middle of the night to teach, you'll be excited to? Of course, like I can talk about it forever. Do you have an experience that's tied to it? Yes, I've gone through great managers, I've gone through terrible managers. If time, money, and fear were not an issue, then I actually said, it's so funny. There was a time he asked me that question. This is after I started teaching it to, and he says, if time, money, and fear are not an issue, what will you be doing? I said, I'll be going around and I'll just be talking. I'll just be speaking, and I'll be teaching people that you can be more. I'll be teaching them about how to enter their more. So you see it now, it's the same process. So it's those 4 Ps: your proficiencies, your passion, your personal experiences, your pipe dream. Put it together. Whatever is the commonality, usually around three. Take out that idea. Now in the time of AI, you can just put it into, then I used to put it into Google, and I'll just take that idea. So if it's cooking, for example, you put in cooking for impact or cooking for wealth. And it comes up with, because when you put cooking, the first thing that comes to your mind is to cook and be selling food in restaurants. Sometimes that's not what God is calling you to do. That's not that more idea. I remember one lady then, she said her more idea was baking, but she actually started baking and she didn't move. All the money she invested in starting out that baking outfit, she lost it. And then in one of our classes, what she kept seeing, hearing was to teach people how to bake. And she was like, I'm not sure I can do this. Like, I haven't finished learning, which is another problem with all of us. Sometimes you find you're more and you feel you're very inadequate. Like, I've not finished learning. And I always say the five fingers, they're not the same level. There's always one that you're is bigger than the next one. So start with that person. So she started teaching. And I remember the first flyer she did, it was not fine at all. It wasn't fine. But she got five people. And this was during COVID. All the money she put to start her business was 50K that time. And she didn't even have it. She lost all that money. She now did this teaching one. Five people, each of them paid 10K. And she got the 50K back. Guess what? 1 year later, by the time I saw this lady in NECA, oh God. There are days that where you think that what I'm doing, it doesn't have any impact. That's why I say just showing up, you're showing up, continue. She sent me a picture. This lady has a restaurant. She has restaurants. She does cooking. She does baking. She has over 10 staff. This is a lady that during COVID, even that baking she wanted to do was puff puff from the front of her house. Oh. And just
Wow.
from that teaching, as she started teaching, she was able to expand it, ended up having a small confectionery business, expanded it to a restaurant. She's a big woman now. So sometimes I always like to put that idea, say if it's cooking for impact, cooking for wealth. Those are usually my two keywords. Put it into Google. Now you can do AI. It will give you options that what I like about it is that it will give you options that are not the contemporary and not every it's not what you see around. And then as a child of God, you go and sit down, and you're like, okay, these are the different options. How do you rank? Which one do I do? And then once you have that release and you want to do, you take that and you just run with it. And I was thinking that for career people, if you once you take that idea, you must leverage tech to make it easy for you. You must leverage tech. You were talking about an email list and how those in the emails you're able to. What that means is that it's not every day that NECA is sending you hi, hello, that the person sent hi, NECA is no. These things have been set up and have been put in place. NECA can say on Saturday, I want to sit down and write four of my emails or five of my emails. And she puts it in and it goes, and tech is helping her. With tech, you can have autoresponders. If somebody
Yep.
sends you a message, you reply and say, "Oh, thank you very much for reaching out to the Happy Employee Coach. We will come back to you in 10 minutes or in 2 hours or in 24 hours." Work with something that works for you. When I started my first business, tech was everything. I told you I'm very introverted. Forget that I did sales. I can count the people that I sold the business to with my mouth face to face. What did I do? I had a webinar that was on. You do the webinar once, you put it on a website, you're driving traffic to it. Every day, farmer's mouth is going. Meanwhile, I'm in my office, I'm doing my work, and the webinar is converting people automatically. They convert them, they enter into an email sequence. I talk to them every day about something. As this thing is happening in real life, I'm doing my work, but tech is helping you to attract and to convert such that I don't really get to meet them till at the end they are convinced, they pay. And then I had a team that was supporting me in that. Before I had a team, actually, I did it myself for almost a year, and then you now have a team.
Wow. I like the four P's very much. And yeah, someone has even written it. I like
Mm.
the four P's very much because it makes you sit down and think. I think one of the things that we don't really want to do is that sitting down and thinking.
And think, yeah.
It's a lot of work because like someone said, we are, maybe our children may be one of the most distracted generations, right?
Mm.
There's just so much pulling our minds and our attention. And many times the answer you're looking for is not far, it's very close. I see people say, "Oh, I want to look for a new side hustle. What's the one that is raining?" I say to people that what you need to do is never far,
Mm.
never about what somebody else is doing to make money. What it's not never always about that. It's usually not
Yeah.
far from you. It's usually not far. It's usually closer than you think.
So
If
you think,
only you pay attention. If you just
yeah.
pause, the answer is usually not that far. That thing you need to do that is extra. And I like how you
Mm.
broke it down, like step by step, and use tech. All of those things are simple things. You see, but I want to talk about this leadership thing, and I'm just looking at. I've been asking myself, which question should I ask? Because I want to ask you about being a wife and how that has
Mm.
been for you as you've risen. I want to ask, okay, let's quickly talk about being a wife,
Okay.
right? Let's talk about that journey for you, right? If you were to advise Ifeoma as of the first year of Ifeoma's marriage, what would you tell Ife looking back from now? So someone who is getting married now, who feels like she has big dreams, right? Because I tell people there are two categories of people in this life. There are people who wake up and they have big dreams. People like you, right? You know, you have the dreams. And there's some people like me who don't have dream. You just do a job. And so when I say people usually don't believe when they say you say, I say I actually don't get up and say, oh, I have this dream in 5 years. Is an idea comes and we just start running with it.
When we
See
eat,
sweet
yeah,
speak is going places. I know it just came. I saw this. It's not like I had a dream of or be an author. So as by tell people that diligence is still the same principle, right?
true,
So
true.
talk to talk to younger Ifoma who was either scared or didn't even know what was ahead of her. Just in a few minutes, right? Let's talk about
Hmm,
that. And I'm going to try to keep end this in the next 15 minutes, please, because I know we're already at the 1 hour mark. So I'm going to try and keep it to end in the next 15 minutes, please. So within
okay.
or less, please. So yes, let's hear that.
Okay. To that Ifoma, first of all, tell her to. Interestingly, I think that Ifoma entered marriage with the right mindset. If I had entered marriage a year before, it would have been an utter disaster.
Hmm.
um, so I already kind of like was clearer on my role as a woman, my role in marriage, the helpmate thing, not the subdued one, that you're a contributor and stuff like that. I'm the firstborn. My head used to be really hot. So I'd also learned a lot about respect and submission. So I think the become that entered marriage was honestly better prepared. Um, However, what are some of the things I would tell her? I would tell her that one, for a woman to rise in her dreams or to just honestly have peace, you need support from your spouse. And when I see a woman that is not supported, I also see a man that has not been supported. Um,
Hmm.
Seed time and harvest. That's the truth about this thing. And then some people will say, oh, why doesn't he support me first? My darling, it's seed time and harvest. If you sow a seed, you will get a fruit. And that's why I always say for those that are not yet married, you need to understand that there are different kinds of soil. And if you look at the parable, there's the soil that is rocky soil that the seed fell on it and it could not get root. There's the one that is with thorns. Yes, it got roots, but the thorns choked it. And then there's the fertile soil. It's the same thing with men. So you're going to, in marriage, continually be in seed time and harvest phase. The question is, what kind of soil are you working with? If that's why you need to have an open mind when you are trying to choose a husband. It's not about the physical connection, and it's about, are we jointly, do we believe in, do we have a joint vision? Do we have a joint picture of what it can be? So in my own case, and one of the things I'm honestly most grateful for is I married a good man. Um, so when you are sowing that seed of sacrifice, of submission, of support, there are times I remember when we started, there was a dream I had when a business idea that came to me, not a dream, and I had to sacrifice it and put it down and supported my husband and pushed everything in terms of what he was working on at that time. And guess what happened? By the time I had my that idea of deluxe and everything, my husband, since then till tomorrow, has been one of my greatest supporters. Greatest supporters. I give you an example of today. I came back from work. I was really tired, and I got back quite early. Interestingly, because I was tired from work. Got around to 6, and I slept off. I woke up. He was just coming in by 7 o'clock. I just hugged him. Oh my son, honey, welcome. Oh, blah blah blah. I have something by 7 o'clock, and I entered room. What does it mean? It means that he understands. We have an understanding. You have to build a relationship with your spouse. I see too many. There's something my dad told me then. He said, when you get into marriage, it's not about whose head is standing. Everybody wants to be like this. No, it's about sometimes you stoop to conquer. So when I see a woman that is not supported, I see a man that has not been supported. What are those things that are important to your spouse? Give him your full support. When you do that, it's a seed you're sowing. It will ultimately turn back and you see that he will start supporting you. Number two, there are ways to communicate with men. You don't just come back and you want something and you just like, brah, da, da, da. No, it doesn't work like that now. When you look at the Bible and we talk about kings like David, and Nathan had a word to give David, Nathan didn't just go there and say, "Guy, you went, you took this man's wife, you did this." There's a wisdom in communicating, especially if you're married to an African man. You need to ask God for the wisdom in communicating, in breaking down things. Sometimes that thing you want to do in one conversation is 10 conversations. You need to know that you need to break it and piece it, because you're moving people to a journey. I always say that women, we have several powers that we don't know. We have the
Hmm.
powers to do things. And that's what people always see, the strength of a woman. Ah, this woman is strong. She carries a family. Yeah, it's great. The power to make things happen. And we see that with Mary, we see that with Herodias. There's always the negative and the positive. We have the power to make people do things. We also see the positive and we also see the negative. The world always talks a lot about the negative on those powers, but the positive is still there as long as you're doing it for what God intends for you to do. So it's not about dimming your light. So I would say to her, one, support your husband wholeheartedly, completely. Number two, you need to build intimacy with your husband. The first thing you were called to do, you see, these helpmates, they always talk, eh? I think sometimes we forget the verse before it. God saw that he needed companionship and then he created a helpmate. Your first role is to be your husband's companion, to be his
Hmm.
friend, the person you're on the same level, you're on the same frequency. So when you do that, it's easy for you to build intimacy. It's easy for you to honestly get away with a lot of things. Honestly, like honestly. So that's that. Then obviously you need to learn how to communicate. You need to. There's something I learned as well as I got more older in my marriage. It's not everything that is a talking point, but it's everything that is a prayer point. When I
Hmm.
feels like there is a wall, I don't even argue again. I just go and pray about it. However, the thing pans out, it's fine. A lot of times, as women, we feel, I want to do this, I want to do this. Unconsciously, what you're showing forth is, if it's not my way, I'm not going to agree with it. And the man wants to show you, who are you to show me that if it's not your way, I will show you I'm the head of the house. Not like as if he intends to do that, but because it's what your
The
out
vibes.
yes, it's the vibes he's getting and he's responding to it. So I would say learn how to communicate, learn how to build intimacy. Then number four, with your husband. The Bible says yes, companionship. But sit down with your husband and ask him, as your wife, what is the one primary thing you expect from me? We've put a lot of society's expectations on us as wives. The house must be clean, the this must be this, the clothes must be this. In short, when I iron the trouser, the that thing must be like this.
Edge.
You will kill yourself. You know, when you have a conversation with your husband and say, what is that main thing you expect from me as your wife? Whatever that thing is, focus on it and do it with your all. You will be shocked that sometimes for some men that he comes back and one chair cover is not put well or one tablecloth is not put, it's really not it's not doing him. It's not it for him. But meanwhile, you've beat yourself and killed yourself. I remember then my husband used to tell me that he just wants what is the one number one for him. He wants us to continue to be friends and have conversations and laugh. When it comes to cooking, for example, and you need to understand that this thing is journey, oh, it's a journey. When I started at first, I used to cook. Oh God, if you see my pots, big, everything. Now I reached a point where my husband is clear on, okay, this is just the meals that I want you to make for me. Now I have help on that in everything. So you need to understand that this is a journey. Don't compare your another person's own to your own. And then last but not the least, you need to get help. You can't do it all on your own, especially if you want to grow in your career or you want to do other things. I always say the Proverbs 31 woman, she had maidens. She didn't have one, no, she had maidens. And there's a role for help in our lives because the things that we've been called to do is a lot more. Someone might say, but my husband will not agree. That's why I told you that some things are not talking points, they are prayer points.
Hmm.
Conversation. It's not one conversation, it's like 10 conversations. Small,
Hmm.
small, small, small. We always talk about Delilah and we say she's the devil, but Delilah did small, small
Hmm.
nuggets of conversations and got what she And you, as child of God, Delilah as God, you don't know you have that same power. So you use it for the good of your family, for the good of your assignment, for the good of God's work. Don't come out with one conversation. Brr, 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 wake him up by 3 a.m. I want to have a conversation. Brr. Doesn't work like that. So it's just those small, small things. Hang around good women. If you hang around good women, you will learn. If you hang around those that I don't know, you will also learn. So it depends on what you want to learn. I think that's really
Oh
good.
my goodness. If he, there's so much I want to ask. Oh, hey, it's like I'm gonna have to come back. Oh, I've just been scrolling through my notes and saying which one should I ask? Because you talked about waiting for 7 years and another 8 years. And I wanted to ask, how did you wait well? Right?
Hmm.
Because and what was the wake up call? How did you wait in that period? What was that for you
Yeah.
like? So if you can just talk, because I think
Yeah.
there's a place of waiting well.
Mm.
So how
You know,
did you wait well? Let's talk about that one.
sometimes there's bliss in ignorance. And I
Hmm.
think, when we say 7 years now, we say 8 years. It feels like a long time, right? Um, but this thing is what adds up a day after a day after a day. That's why if you don't have most times, if you don't have a vision or a plan or
Yeah.
something, you will just stay there and 10 years will pass. And then you
Hmm.
now look at it like, it's 10 years. So my wake up call, the first one was at 5 years when people were now getting promoted, and one of my friends got promoted, and I honestly, genuinely was happy for her. I was just, I remember I came back home, I was telling my husband, oh my God, this person got promoted, da, da, da. And he was looking at me and he said, later on, he told me, he said, you are the only person that I know that people will get promoted and you'll be so excited. Meanwhile, your one has not come. And I hadn't thought of it that way. And it just dawned on me that, come on, this person actually were pairs, oh. So that was really like my first wake up call. And then there is a place of waiting well because I became very bitter. I became not bitter at the person, but bitter at the system. Like I felt I was doing everything and then things were not happening. Unconsciously, what that flags to the organization is that you're truly not ready for that next level that you think you are. And I'm grateful for friends that I had because there was one session and I had a friend and he called me to a room and he asked me, "Okay, what do you want?" I said, "I want to get promoted." He said, "You're going about it the wrong way." And I said, "How?" He said, "You are sounding very negative. You're sounding very..." And in my mind, I'm like, "Really? No, I really just read my mind." He said, he asked me a question. He said, "What level do you want to be?" Then it was like a level 3 role. I said, "I want to be a band 3." He said, "This question that was asked, how would a band 3 have responded to it?" And it dawned on me that if you want to when you are waiting, you don't just wait at your level, you wait at the level you want to be at. You start to think, you start to speak, you start to act like that level. And when he said that thing, he said you just responded like a bantu and you want to get promoted, you won't get promoted. And I went home. I'm very good at crying. When I cry, I can move forward. I cried, I sat down, and I started asking myself, with every situation, how would a bantry respond? How would a bantry say this? How would a bantry respond to this? And I remember, interestingly, the same thing happened. This my recent role. It took 4 years to move to this one, but I started asking the questions. And when it kind of like, this is what I want to be, I want to be an MD. I remember then in the office, if you ask them that year, the year before I got this role, that 2024, I told them I was going to start looking responsible because I used to be a t-shirt and jeans, just show up anyhow. After all, it's not paint we are selling. I'm going to the factory. And I changed my wardrobe and I said I want to start looking like an MD. I want to start talking like an MD. Obviously, I didn't say this. So waiting well is one, what's the knowledge you need to excel at that new level? What are the skills you need to excel at that new level? What are the habits, behavioral outputs you need to start to show to perform at that new level and start doing all those things where you are. Because like I say, if you get into that new level and you're not well prepared, or you don't even take the next step to even continue developing yourself, that new level will swallow you. It would have been better for you to have stayed at your lower level. So I
Hmm.
think for me, those were the key things that helped me in waiting well. It's never easy. And then also just being grounded in God and just knowing um, prayer. I keep asking about it. And when I pray, I don't just pray, I pray and I ask for a word. God, are you asking me to wait? Are you asking me to do this? What do you need me to do? Just having that reassurance also makes me feel like I'm not alone on this journey, and what are the different things I need to change. And that's why it was, if you carry him along, there are things that he will say to you, there are things he will send people to say to you, there are things that he'll open up your eyes to see. Yeah. So I think that's what I would say on that.
If you, hey, what are we going to do now? No, ah, I don't. See, I beg. I don't even know. Oh, you said something at the beginning. No, maybe it's here I will end, and then we'll have to do this again because I still want to talk about keeping the dream alive when it doesn't look like right. How do you keep that dream alive? I want to talk about that. I also want to, and I'm not even joking. I'm,
Okay, what?
I'm, I'm actually feeling this deeply, right? I've buzzed your brother. I've said, man, because he's busy doing something, sorting something else, that support thing, right? And I'm like, you need to watch this thing because you talked about spending time on LinkedIn as well, updating your profile, that intentionality. There's a lot to unpack there. You talked about
Mm,
having to move from this, that if you're ready to move levels, you have to move from comfort to discomfort.
mhm.
Please, let's end. So, I also want to talk about money, right? But we can't even do that today. Let's end today's session. I'm going to have to bring you back on this. I'm serious. I'm at 1.5 pages, and I don't even know what I don't know what to ask and what not to ask. And there's just so much here for me, right? You just said something that if you get bitter, the organization will see that you're not ready for the next level. That's just if we even want to go back and unpack that one, we can be there another 10 minutes. Just
Mm,
unpacking how you can give up the vibes of something and you're not even aware of giving up that vibes. Do you
exactly.
understand? And how you need to
Exactly.
rely on the right people to help you wake up and say, Madam, Oga, are you joking here? But let's
Mm,
not go to that one. We may have to talk about it another time because it's already 8:46. Can you talk about this issue of embracing discomfort as we grow? And I want you to
mm.
look at it as I know it's a lot to unpack, but look at it over the last 2 decades, right? Look at it and just talk to us about embracing discomfort, doing that hard work and saying discomfort, I will hug you, literally,
Mm.
if you want to go, if you want to change levels. Let's talk about that and we'll have to pause here and I don't know.
Okay. Honestly, I really cannot say how I'm able to. One thing I do know is that when, let me tell you something so you understand the kind of person I am. When I was growing up, I used to see people that were preaching at bus stops, right? And I used to see people that were preaching in bus, and I used to tell God, God, no matter how you call me, don't call me this type. You come and tell me to preach in the bus. Like, I cannot do it. Like, I don't like confrontation. I don't like stress. I don't like people. I don't like being like the center of everything. And it's so funny where God has brought me to, and like that's where you are going to be. So one thing I always have grown to see is that he's not a wicked God, right? He's
Mm,
not going to thrust you out there in the deep end. Yes, you don't like all these things. I always feel like he's just sitting down somewhere and just smiling, like, this is my daughter. You don't even know what I've planned for you. Just shouting, I don't like this. I don't like this. Ah, I can't do this. So, and then he does it piecemeal by piecemeal. So when we look at it today and we talk about discomfort, it never was thrown at me in one felled swoop. So I give you the example.
mm,
When I moved from marketing to sales, honestly, I could have resigned and say I'm not doing the sales again. But I loved the company I was working for. And I just felt there's this thing my childhood friend used to say, Yawa no they kill. Like when we get into trouble, she just had this crazy attitude. We used to get in trouble. She used to get into trouble a lot, and I used to be in the trouble with her. She used to say, Yawa no they kill. So I just had this mindset of it doesn't kill. Like, what's the worst thing? I'll do it. If I can't do it too much, they could think I'm going to fail. So, but I always like to prove a point. So when I'm moving from discomfort to comfort because people generally underestimated me. I'm like, you know what? Let me do this thing. So when I moved from marketing to sales, it was hard though. Yeah, it was hard. Some days I'll come back, I'm like, God, why am I dirty like this? you know, Talking to terrible customers. But it's a, I'm in this place. What can I get out of this? He's brought me here, then there's a reason why I'm here. Then with every discomfort level, and I've grown in this, it is never about me alone. It's like, God, I'm walking through this with you, because he says, even though you walk through the fire, I will be there with you. I look at discomfort as the fire. So God, I am in here with you. I It's like when your father sends you on an errand, go to my friend's house and go and bring this. You can't come back halfway and say, I couldn't go. I feel like if my father sends me on assignment, I can't forehand. So I know it is going to be hard for me. It's not in my when I launched my first more deluxe, I can't sleep. Oh God, I can't sleep. In short, bros knows. They used to tease me. I used to sleep on Saturday, continental sleep, intercontinental sleep, have different levels, transatlantic sleep. But when I started that one, I had an assignment. It was helping people have their babies in the US. That wasn't the assignment to me. The assignment to me was about helping to curb maternal mortality. So for every client that I handled, it was doing my part. And I'm a very also a very I want to be reliable. If I tell you this is something, I want you to know that if you will do it. So I would stay awake and I'll be working, and I wouldn't sleep till 1 a.m. and I would wake up again by 6 o'clock, get the kids ready, go out. Crazy. My sleep was dented, but I would look for another way to pay myself back, because once again, if you see it as an assignment, it's a worthy call. I am grateful that you are calling me to do this. When I was doing the Dulux experience, it was totally night and day from what I was used to. Those days, if I walk a distance, my back would lock. When I was doing Dulux work, in sometimes just going around the factory, I will clock my 5,000, 10,000 steps, and I'm still going around. And guess what I learned? My back stopped locking. So in those situations, just realize that you're not, if you go into that discomfort zone with a clarity on the why, you go in with an understanding that you are not alone. He says you will go through the fire, it will not burn you. He says, many are the afflictions of the righteous, but he will deliver him from all. He says, even though you walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you will fear no evil. I walk with all these things. So you go there knowing that he's with you. And then once again, I tell myself the grace is available. I'm not perfect, and God is building me. So if you say, God, I want to learn how to love. I saw that video. She gives you more opportunities to meet difficult people. That's how you learn to love. I want to learn courage. He throws you hard things so that you learn courage. So if you want to grow, he will throw these things, and discomfort is part of it. And because I've gone through it in my life, I've learned that after I've discomfort, there's always a higher level. There's always a new one. So it gives you staying power to continue.
This is a case of for the joy that is set before you.
Honestly,
You know that there's a
honestly,
joy coming.
honestly, honestly. Yeah.
Okay. Sis, I can't tell you how grateful I am. I've learned a lot, to be honest. I've
Thank
been
God.
writing frantically, and it's just been so much depth of wisdom that you've shared with us this evening. There are so many things I'm taking away from here. I can't begin to recount all of them, but one thing I hear coming through all of this is the place of your faith in your journey, the place of your faith as a child of God. You've mentioned it at every point in time. Your faith and what God, where God is leading you. Was there any time where you struggled with having time for quiet time, and all of that?
It's a
How did you?
constant struggle.
Okay, so that people feel like they're not alone. But how do you find time to make sure that you are fed, right, and that you are still in service? As we
Okay.
wrap this up now.
Yeah. I think truthfully it's a constant struggle. Um, and there's something that the enemy always wants you to feel like once you lose out on some timing, oh, you're a terrible child, God is not
Hmm.
with you. And then most times you actually stay away. One of the first things I learned was that You know when he says, even when we are faithless or unfaithful, he's always faithful. God is love.
Yes.
He has chosen to love you even when you were a sinner. So what you're doing now, these are not acts that make him love him. He sees
Hmm.
your heart, and so he always loves you. That's the first one. The second one was that helped me was I always used to feel like, so I have a lot of conversations and I have a lot of decisions to make, and I always run it by God. You know, God is always talking. Sometimes we feel like, oh, and there are times for that, and I would come to it. There are times for that where I take out time and I'm like, God, I want to hear your voice on this. I want to hear your take on this, you know. But I also realize that God is not does not want to be boxed in certain times of our life in a day.
Hmm.
God wants to be in our day all through. So during the day, talking to Him, talking to the Holy Spirit, help me on this, help me on this. That is also prayer, you know,
Hmm.
because for me, it's also funny in the morning you pray to God, oh God, help me. Then you come during the day and you see situations where you need God's help and you bravado it through it with your own human mind and intellect. So it's always a constant battle. I've done different things. I've tried. Sometimes I do in the night. There was a season of my life where I used to do a lot more prayers in the night. Um, there was a season of my life where I used to do in the mornings. Those mornings ones, that season didn't stay long. I'm not a morning person at all. So you find what works for you and then you do that. I love to search out things. So I don't particularly have a time that I say is Bible study time. If it just comes, it can be in the car. I sit down there and I'm just searching it out. A word can come, like expound this thing for me. I'm just there, is expounding it, and I'm writing and I'm writing and I'm typing and I'm typing. And then I continue to meditate on that throughout the day till it opens it up completely.
Hmm.
So I that's also one thing for me. But then there should always
Hmm.
be that place where you just have fellowship and intimacy with God. There are seasons of my life where I've done, you have this particular time and then you have a date with God. There are seasons of my life where it has scattered, and then you have to start building back again. But in all things, God is not impressed by performances. He's not impressed by what you're trying to do out of your will. You need to
Definitely.
understand that it's an intimacy thing, and God, I want to do this, help me. Holy Spirit, help me. He would wake you up at that time. Is that prioritizing? Are you truly the number one for me? That's worship, honestly. And then when you open up your mind and your heart and your ears to realize that He is speaking at every time, you don't miss out on those different things that He's sending your way as well.
Wow. I think for me, what has hit me the most is that it's a constant struggle, and don't allow the devil to put you into guilt, right? And just keep maximizing the opportunity. So when the thought comes, pause, think,
Yeah,
and connect with him. When I was sending you a reminder, or this, I can't remember, was it
yeah.
yesterday or today? I can't remember. What came to my heart to type was, please, it will be a 60 to 90-minute session. But I was like, 90 minutes would be too much. There's no need. And look at it, we have clocked 90
Wow.
minutes. And we didn't
And I
even
feel like
touch
yeah, we have
the
oh,
things that are question. Yeah, we have clocked
oh
90
wow.
minutes. And we didn't touch a lot of things. There are still questions I have to ask you. So definitely you're going to come back. For those of us who are watching this, if he leads a community of over 30K, like you said at the beginning, I wanted to ask questions about that. What I've experienced with knowing if you over the years is that push, ability to push you and just be that voice in your corner. And so if you're looking for someone who will be that voice in your corner, who you feel like, okay, and she's doing this thing, maybe you want to even get closer and say, is it even true? Is her marriage really that good? Is she being a good mother? You are doubting Thomas, get into the community. Why do I say that? Because when someone says they are doing something for themselves, and that's one level, when you're able to do it for others, that's a different level entirely. But you are able to take a roadmap for yourself, and the other people are able to deploy it and get results. That's a different level, right? So if you're here and you're wondering, is it possible? Can I really have this? Can I really grow into more? Just go and join that community, right? She's on LinkedIn as her name, Ifeoma Chuks-Adizue. Please just go and click and follow Uncommon Woman Movement and join. There's a course, there's a program you can go through, and you join like-minded women as well who are growing, in their more, right? So it's 90 minutes. I want to say thank you very much. I am so grateful for this time. This time is gold. If we were to gather money and pay for it, I don't know which currency we'll be using. Maybe it's pound sterling, the currency that has a surname. That's what we'll be using to pay. So I don't take it for granted. I thank you very much for believing in this. Because I take it as when people come on here, I'm like, is it believing in this thing that NECA is doing, and just supporting it, and I don't take it for granted. Thank you
Thank you
so
too.
so much for giving time, and thank you. Please tell our uncle thank you very
Let me
much
go.
for releasing
Let
you
me go and do
for
my
this 90
remaining
minutes. Biko, biko, biko.
responsibilities.
Please, 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 I beg. Tell him I'm very grateful. That we are all of us are grateful.
And
Thank you
thank
very
you so
much,
much
my
for
sister.
having
Thank you
me.
so much.
And
God bless
and
you.
well done with this. And I truly love that the
Thank
platform
you.
is real. That's usually what is always missing. When people can really share and share their real stories, it helps. So well done, well done. God will continue
Mm,
to strengthen you.
thank you. Amen. 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 Thank you so much. Thank everyone that stayed live with us on LinkedIn.